Faker and T1 won a tournament last weekend. Now, as news goes, that's not particularly out of the ordinary, but the question is, will this go down as just another trophy in Faker's cabinet, or his most controversial win yet? The esports World Cup kicked off last week in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Orgs from around the world have descended on the city to compete in Apex Legends, COD, CS2, Fortnite, Overwatch 2, as well as fighting titles and mobile games across the 7.5-week event. And it's attracted both viewers and critics alike. We'll get into more of that later on, but for Faker and T1, their only goal was to win the League of Legends event. Their competition included Top Esports and Bilibili Gaming from China, G2 and Fnatic from Europe, and Team Liquid and FlyQuest from North America. After winning the first game of the best of 3 and then losing the second, T1 overcame a 5k goal deficit in Game 3 to take down Bilibili 2-1. The semi-final against Team Liquid saw T1 get rolled in Game 1, particularly by APA Ziggs, but T1's triple AD carry comp in Game 2 proved too much for Team Liquid to handle. They took that momentum into Game 3 to gain an early lead, and although the gold remained close going into the mid-game, a few key team fights won the day for T1. They then got off to a bad start in Game 1 of the grand final best of 5 against Top Esports, who hadn't dropped a game all tournament, but T1 then went on to win 3 games on the bounce to take the series. But as T1 lifted their trophy and Faker was bestowed the tournament's MVP award, things may have felt different for some. For one, it's been a while since we've seen Tier 1 League of Legends teams playing in an event that's not run by Riot, and for some, this entire tournament has had a dark cloud hanging over it due to concerns that Saudi Arabia is using the tournament for sports washing. Sports washing is when individuals, groups, or governments such as Saudi Arabia are accused of using sports, or in this case esports, to improve their reputation or distract from controversial issues. Over the years, Saudi Arabia has been accused many times of sports washing in order to try and mask its human rights record. The Fraser Institute's 2021 Human Freedom Index ranked Saudi Arabia 157th out of 165 countries when looking at 86 indicators of personal and economic freedom. The country has long been criticized regarding its LGBTQ+, women's and workers' rights, as well as political or judicial repression. Saudi Arabia is also a very wealthy country, thanks to its massive oil reserves, but the oil can't last forever, and so the country needs to diversify its economy. Vision 2030 is the country's plan for that. Its objectives include developing new tourism, entertainment, and technology industries, while creating jobs and fostering a more sustainable economy. As part of this initiative, they've hosted huge events like the Formula 1 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, golf tournaments, high-profile boxing matches, and football events. And the country's critics feel that the Esports World Cup being hosted by Saudi Arabia is just the latest example of this, an attempt by a country to use esports as a way to diversify its economy and sports wash its human rights record on the global stage. Last week, the tournament's boss, Ralph Reichart, defended the decision to host the event in Saudi Arabia to the BBC.
So first and foremost, everyone is welcome. Everyone can participate in the competition, and no one will be discriminated based on gender, sex, and what you said, right? To start with. So that's a promise we can give as a tournament organizer, and that we've worked together with the official parties. Saying that, though, that there's in every country in the world different local habits and cultural norms, which you need to adhere of.
Back in May, FlyQuest put out a very carefully worded statement in which they encouraged their players and staff to decide for themselves if they wish to join the org at the event. And last week, Team Liquid players were permitted to wear Pride jerseys while competing in the tournament. And there have been many calls for viewers and those in the industry to boycott the tournament altogether. The point is, regardless of how you feel about this tournament, it has a dark cloud of controversy hanging over it. The question is, does that affect the league community's perception of it? There have been vocal critics of T1 lending their talent and brand to the Esports World Cup, with some critics going so far as to say this will leave a stain on Faker's legacy and reputation. ES Charts reported that the grand finals registered 1.1 million peak viewers, no doubt in large part to the presence of T1. And while there may be debate about how exactly these numbers are sourced, it certainly doesn't look like the boycott blackout that some people in the community may have been hoping for. And then there's the question of how League fans will look back at this title that T1 have just won. How does it compare to Worlds or MSI or even a domestic title? Is it even competitively comparable? Do the controversies dampen any achievements? Will there always be an asterisk next to T1's title? Earlier this year, Riot themselves said they, quote, "The EWC offers not only the chance to compete on an international stage, but also the ability to earn a piece of a meaningful prize pool, which helps enhance financial stability." But then, of course, there's the question of just how sustainable this money is. There's concerns that the discussion about reshaping the esports industry into a more sustainable model has been sidelined now due to the arrival of Saudi money which could easily be withdrawn. Each one of these questions deserves consideration and probably their own videos, but for now, what do you think? Does the cloud hanging over the Esports World Cup taint T1 or Faker's achievement? Will it ever be universally respected because of that? There's every chance that this event becomes an annual occurrence, and so these questions likely aren't going anywhere. And seeing the greatest League player ever lifting that trophy only brings them further into focus.